A fault is a weakness, a defect, a fracture. Faults divide, tear, and consume. Here in the city of Chester's Chasm, we struggle to maintain that precarious balance over the precipice in the earth, in our lives, and in our hearts. This story is about 4 teenagers with faults of their own.
The fault between my faith and freedom.
The fault between my family and identity.
The fault between my choice and my obligation.
The fault between my life and death.
As these fractures grow, we stand at the edge and ask, what must we sacrifice to sate the void's endless hunger? Is it possible that the answer lies within all our faults? Greetings, and welcome to All Our Faults, Aftershocks, by the Tabletop Talespinners Network. I am your hostess and producer, Mistress Winter. In our second mid-season epilogue, Crispin confronts his personal dragons in an impromptu therapy session with Dr. Miller. But will Crispin intuit the doctor's ulterior motives before he gets in too deep? Please enjoy. Aftershocks. A good deal. Crispin, when last we left our lovely sad boy, he had run away from the apparent dangers and evils that were on full display at the Cascade, and breaking his solitude, Dr. Miller had driven up and offered him a ride, to which he accepted, and they had a brief discussion about Crispin's fears and vulnerabilities, about the things that are facing Crispin at this time. Dr. Miller had offered her assistance, offered her guidance and counsel to help Crispin through this very difficult time. Dr. Miller drives Crispin to a home further into the hills east of Chester's Chasm. It is a beautiful modern cabin with a spectacular view of the city from where it sits. She pulls up out front. This is a place where you can be safe.
Crispin will get out of the car and he will take in this view of the city. It doesn't strike him at first how different this house is from where he lives. The comparative opulence of it, the beautiful location. I think he just gazes down on the city, on his home, and is struck by how different he feels from even this morning. The last 2 days have been a real roller coaster for him of ups and downs and closeness with his father, distance with his father, closeness with his friends, distance with his friends. And he's really stuck in this sort of trying to make sense of everything that's happened. Looking over this town where he grew up, that sense of otherness is very heavy on him. After a few moments of quiet contemplation, staring over the town, I think he'll turn to Dr. Miller and say, I would be grateful for anything you could, any help, any little bit of understanding you could help me find.
She nods and leads you to the door and inside. Inside, as far as decoration and style, it is sparse and almost clinical in that very kind of minimalist, modern way. You know, these sweeping futuristic curves and edges.
Everything very clean and beautiful, but nothing that anybody actually lives on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I hate those.
She leads you into what is ostensibly the living room area. There's a couch, a couple of chairs, the coffee table. Any art that may be in the room, there's, again, very modern, very new agey. She motions for you to sit.
Crispin will find the most polite way to sit. Everything in here looks carefully staged and undisturbed, so he's gonna find like the most like straight up and down back chair to like perch on the edge of, in that way of like someone in a waiting room just like politely waiting to be called.
She takes a seat across from you, hands neatly folded in her lap, regarding you not stoically, but without a lot of emotion. Something scared you out at the Cascade. What was it?
I'll stare off into the middle distance for a moment. There's an internal conflict of how much do I tell her, because she is my therapist, essentially. And I do know that people do get sent to like the hospital and locked away for saying things that are too crazy. But also, I'm fully part of a cult. So...
And technically, so is she.
Right. So the threshold for what is too crazy is a little different for us. But I will take a moment to kind of ponder, how much do I say? How do I phrase it? And I take a deep breath and I start to tell the story of how my friend Celine, I'll say the name, my friend Celine is in danger, or I thought she was. And when I tried to help her and my other friends, they ignored me, and I had to attend my vigil and prioritize that. And then they were there in the woods. Celine looked bloodied and like she'd really been through it. And then there was the fighting. And then my friend Michael, I think, is possessed. He floated in the air in a mockery of the crucifixion. And I think that he's been taken by some horrible demon. And when I went to confront this sigil, this light, this cavern, I think my friend Celine has been replaced by a witch. And she used some force beyond nature to prevent me from pursuing my path forward. And I think that in the course of my vigil, my friends were targeted as a way to get to me. And it's my fault. I've hurt them. I've brought evil upon my friends and upon my community and upon my family and upon you. And it's my fault. I did this.
That is a lot of guilt and responsibility to put on yourself. Did it ever occur to you that much of that was out of your control?
He ponders this for a second. I suppose, but doesn't it also seem poignant and important that all of this came to pass on the night of my vigil? That all of this should come together on the night that I am meant to prove my faith, my manhood, my responsibility?
There is a distinction that we must make between destiny, fate, and coincidence. To believe yourself as the crux of everybody else's problems is not a tenable belief to have. It will wear on you, and because we cannot fix everyone else's problems, you will find yourself in a constant loop of feeling like a failure. I don't know if Crispin will take notice of this or if he's lost in the sauce, as it were, but she has absolutely not addressed anything about what Crispin was referencing, like witches and possessions and stuff like that.
Crispin absolutely does not clock that. He's too wrapped up in everything. And specifically, the thought, you think I'm being prideful. What I'm saying is, what if I am the problem?
And you believe yourself to be the problem.
In a rush, years of trauma and doubt will come pouring out of Crispin as he confesses, I am the youngest of 4 children, the only one to survive, and I have failed to carry the mantle that Father so desperately wants me to carry. I can't be all 4 of us, and I went out in the world to learn of its ways and to be educated and to know of the evils that we'll face, and instead I have potentially brought my friends to the face of evil. None of them have any connection to the evils that we face. None of them understand the charge that our faith has placed on us. And yet it feels as though through their connection to me, I have cursed them. They were just innocent bystanders. And then 2 years ago, I showed up and ruined their lives. And now Celine is, I don't know what, Michael is perhaps as we speak being dragged to hell. I can't help but feel that everything I touch becomes tainted. I can't be who my friends need. I can't be who my father wants. I can't save my mother from herself. All I've ever wanted was to be good enough, and I never have been.
It is a dark place to feel ourselves as second best, as an afterthought, as a redundancy. But you don't have to. Fate and faith aside, you have power. You have the potential to control your circumstances.
Crispin will run his fingers over the dots on his club that he's probably been clutching this whole time, just mindlessly. And I think he'll relax a little bit. He'll scoot back into the chair under the guise of pondering Dr. Miller's words. Part of him wants to believe her. Part of him wants to be in a reality where he has the power to change things, where he has the ability to take control and make things better. But there's a nagging feeling in the back of his mind because all of his father's rants and raves, all of Father Miller's sermons talk about how the power and glory are God's, and all of our power comes from God's will and our faith and our ability to follow God's plan for us. And something about what Dr. Miller is saying isn't quite jiving with that. And so Crispin takes this moment to look around. Is there anything in this room or on the way in that indicates that Father Miller lives here or has ever been here?
Oh, no, not at all.
Cool. I had a feeling.
You also have the option of gazing into the abyss. If you have any specific questions or...
No, I don't think it's a specific question. I think it's just Crispin was on super high alert while he was in the woods and then kind of had a panic shutdown in the car and when getting here. And I think he's just kind of returning to his senses and kind of starting to go, okay, let's use our big kid brain and look around and process and take in our surroundings. But also he does have a deep affection for and trust in Dr. Miller. And if the last few days have taught him anything, it's that he knows nothing. But there is a little bit of friction between his surroundings and what Dr. Miller is saying and the entire rest of his life.
Dr. Miller stands and holds out her hands for your club.
Before I give it to her, I do have a specific question I want to gaze into the abyss for. Is this part of the vigil?
Ooh, okay.
Uh-huh, yeah. That just came to me. All right. Gaze into the abyss is dark, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That was a 5 on the die for a 4.
This seems so far off the path that whether or not this is part of the vigil is completely irrelevant.
Okay. I am in danger. After a brief hesitation, I will put the club in her hands. I have no reason not to trust her.
She takes it and peers up and down its length. And there is a strange admiration, a glint to her gaze as she traces her fingers along its smooth surface. Not even marked yet, except for the pips. Your friends, no, they do not understand. It is impossible to translate our pain, our thoughts, our love in words. Many an artist try through their various mediums, but in our thoughts we are alone. In our experiences we are alone. But that is not to say that we can't show them that you can be the shining example of what you wish to be, what you wish the world to be. Strife and violence are inherent in human nature, as you have been well witness to. But what if you can find it within yourself to show them better, to be a paragon of leadership, to guide them toward a better future?
I would give anything to be able to do that.
She considers for a moment, then retreats to a nearby desk where she will place your club inside, gently, retrieve something else, close the drawer. As I have said, you have the potential. You have the promise of being great. And to this point in your life, as I understand it, you have had many a challenge to that potential, being the last of your siblings, a father who made you feel like he made do, a mother who was lost in her own circumstances, and now with these greater monsters facing you, perhaps you need a symbol, perhaps something to remind you of your certainty in self and the certainty of your future. And she will open her hand and offer the item. Looks like a little pin or brooch in the shape of the knight, the chess piece. It is red, jeweled, with a gold base.
Crispin will regard it for a moment before gingerly taking it out of her hand. He'll tilt it a little bit to let the light play across the gems. Thank you. I will endeavor to be worthy of this.
You seem to question it. I do not mean that a simple bauble is going to fix all of your problems. More that it should symbolize a recommitment, a promise to oneself to take up a mantle of strength, of courage. Do you think that you could make me that promise? Promise that you will wear this and find it within yourself to show all the great things that you are capable of.
Crispin will carefully attach the brooch to his shirt. Having never put on a brooch before, decorative things like that were not really his bag. And once it's firmly pinned to his shirt, he'll look back up at Dr. Miller and, I promise.
There is, in those two words, a static snap, like that pop that you feel when you crash across the rug in your socks and zap somebody. That electricity, very faint, sets the hairs of your arms on end very briefly.
Crispin is going to choose to interpret that as divine ordainment.
Wonderful. And I shall be your personal guide and advisor. This place is open to you. Come and go as you wish. And if you feel that you need practice, there is a sparring gym downstairs. Oh, don't look at me like that. I like to work out on occasion. I took martial arts for several years.
Yeah, Crispin doesn't know how to process that. I can't begin to appreciate your generosity. And finally, his senses have kicked back in, and he kind of looks around and he goes, Did Father Miller, is this part of the vigil? Is Father Miller here? I suppose I should find out if I passed or not.
Did you want to pass?
Oh, this feels like a trap for Crispin. Oh no. Yeah, oh God, would he be honest with her? Yeah, that question smacks him across the face, and I don't think he's able to hide that, which is probably answer enough, but what comes out of his mouth after a few beats is just, I never felt like I had the option to fail, because, you know, he was going into this assuming he was going to die tonight, that he was essentially being sacrificed just by another name.
By the look on your face, I see that it is a much more complicated question, or complicated answer, than you may have words for. To answer your question, yes, I share a life with Father Miller, but I also keep one of my own. And it was my sense that you did not feel safe going to Father Miller or to your father after the vigil. Here you are open to self-explore and not feel pressured by any of them.
But won't I be missed?
Possibly, but I shall intercede. I will talk to Father Miller, and I am sure that he will convince your father that things are well, and that there is no concern to be had. And should your father object, then you shall be safe here, as long as you wish to be.
Can I please do one more roll for Gaze into the Abyss? I, the player, am pretty sure I know the answer, but Crispin wants to know, is she a believer? Does she believe all of the shit that they've been spinning? Or, oh god. Come on, dice. Don't fail me now. No, that's another 5 for a 4. Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Well, make sure you're taking your experience. That you've seen her at worship, at the church, head bowed and acknowledged by Father Miller. You could easily assume that she is. She was there at your vigil. She has always looked out for you and the other members of the congregation most exclusively. But at the same time, she doesn't wear a cross or any symbols of the faith. You've never seen her engage in a lot of things directly.
So she's always around, but she's never actually like...
Yep.
Oh, I'm so dead. Oh, God. I think for Crispin, this is like the nicest anyone's ever really been to him. And the temptation of this house and this space and this freedom for now is too much. He can't refuse. He can't even question it. It's just, even if this is the devil setting a trap for him, good work. You set the trap well. You got the right bait. We're here, baby. No, he has to, he can't not take this. And so I think he will, he's going to stand up and kind of look around and say, I hate to be rude, but I have been on my feet for so long and so much has happened. I would love to just rest.
Very well. Food is in the refrigerator and cabinet, and there is a bedroom just around the corner that is all yours.
I think the food is tempting, but now that he's admitted it, he is so bone tired he can't even keep his eyes open. So he's going to give her a little bow, little nod of gratitude, and slowly, in a dignified manner, walk to the bedroom. And as soon as the door is shut, he's going to kick off his shoes, take off his jacket, and flop fully clothed face down into that bed and honestly be asleep before he hits the pillow.
Crispin dreams that night of striding forward through what could be interpreted as hell. Striding boldly forward, unafraid, confident, proud, capable. The world is literally falling apart around him, but he is unafraid. And he stands commanding and victorious over those dragons and demons that had plagued him. But he's not alone. There are others nearby, just out of peripheral, standing with him.
3 of them?
2. 1 on either side. But when you turn to look, the vision fades, and Crispin falls back into deep slumber. And that's where we will fade out from there. This has been a Tabletop Talespinners Network production. Special thanks to TTN director Emma Kocar. This episode starred Kat Kelly, who can be found at Kat the Dungeon Mom on Instagram. I have been your MC and producer, Mistress Winter. You can find me at gmistresswinter. For more information about TTN and all our faults, check out the link tree in the show notes. Thank you, and we'll see you next week for another Aftershock. May your hearts be safe and happy. Farewell. This has been a tale from the Tabletop Talespinners Network.